My girlfriend went missing, and the police found her suitcase in a swamp. I'm scared, and nothing make any sense. I just pray that she's okay. My girlfriend went missing on a rain-slick Friday night, and for 72 hours the world felt warped, like somebody had taken a mallet to reality, and I was wobbling inside the dent. The first hint was small enough to ignore. Her boss phoned at 6:30 and asked if Bethany had left the yoga studio early. Beth never left early. She was the kind of instructor who stayed late to roll extra mats and refill the lavender diffusers, so when he said she'd missed the closing shift entirely, I told him she must be stuck in traffic and promised to check. I tried her cell as soon as we hung up. One ring, then straight to voicemail, the way it does when the battery is yanked or the phone is powered off. That should have meant nothing. Phones die, but it punched a neat hole through my calm. I pinged her with 3 quick texts. You okay? Need a ride? Call me. The bubbles never showed. I drove to the studio first, thinking I would find her arguing with a parking kiosk or wiping down mirrored walls. The glass double doors were chained, the lobby dark. An LED clock above the front desk blinked 6:52 p.m. in fluorescent blue. Her canvas tote that usually leaned behind reception was nowhere. Outside, her commuter bike, a teal 10-speed with chipped paint and a squeaky rear derailleur, was still locked to the trembling rack, rain beating on the seat. If she had ridden home, the bike would not be here. If she had driven, the Corolla would be gone, too. But the bike was here, and the car should be in our complex lot. I phoned a second time, then sped the 4 miles back to the apartment. I half expected to open the door and hear her humming over boiling pasta, annoyed that I was late for dinner. Instead, the place sat in tense silence. 2 bowls from breakfast still crusted on the counter. Our tuxedo cat, Pickle, pawed at an empty dish. Beth always fed him before leaving the studio. She had not been home. Nothing looked rummaged or missing. Her tablet lay charging on the couch armrest. Her favorite jean jacket still hung by the closet. But her purse was gone, and the umbrella she kept inside was gone too. There was no note, no buzz of the phone buried under cushions. I called the hospitals next. They asked for birth date, hair color. None reported a Jane Doe matching. I tried her college friend Nina, got voicemail. I tried her sister Julia, who lived 2 states away. The call rang unanswered. I refreshed the weather radar twice. The green blotches kept creeping. Every minute felt more elastic, stretching long enough to fit whole disasters. By 9 p.m., I was retracing what should have been Beth's route home. Rain hammered the windshield so hard the wipers squealed. I said her name inside the car, like it might magnetize her to the passenger seat. Headlights flashed off wet guardrail, off mile markers, off shadows that for a breath looked like a stalled Corolla. Nothing. At 10:30, a county dispatcher finally took my missing person report, reminding me that adults have a right to vanish, but noting that sudden silence from a meticulous person counts as suspicious circumstance. 2 deputies met me at the apartment. They were polite, too polite, the way you are with a person who might be falling apart but refuses to show seams. They opened drawers with gloved fingers, lifted blankets, photographed the untouched toothbrush. They asked whether Beth had recently spoken of leaving. I said she'd been excited about a cabin reservation we'd booked for October, and that we were talking about getting a second cat. I said those things as proof of permanence, as if future plans made a person anchor-shaped. That night's sleep was a rumor. Shadows crawled the walls. Rainwater drummed the balcony rail. And every phone buzz, all spam texts and weather alerts, shot adrenaline down my spine. At 3 a.m., the online portal for her phone bill refreshed. New entry. 1 outgoing call, 3 minutes, time-stamped 5:47 p.m., the pocket of time between her last class and her disappearance. The number was unfamiliar with an Arizona area code. We lived in Maine. I forwarded the screenshot to the detectives. Saturday dawned gray and restless. I drove to Beth's parents an hour north because I couldn't bear to tell her mother over the phone. Her dad answered the door in slippers, still clutching the morning paper he hadn't started. He tried to be stoic for 3 sentences before his voice cracked. He handed me an old Polaroid of Beth at 6, gap-toothed and laughing, as if I needed proof she had once been small enough to protect. We spent the afternoon in their living room, television muted, waiting for any update. At dusk, the update arrived. A park ranger called in a plate match from a trailhead parking lot 53 miles west at Coldwater Marsh Preserve. Beth's Corolla was parked at an angle, rear window shattered by a cedar trunk that had ripped free during the storm. Her car key lay on the dash. In the trunk, a duffel with her studio. Logo sweatshirt, sneakers, charger cord. The cops said that looked bad. Most missing adults keep their phone chargers close. They taped off the car and fanned out with dogs and hip waders. Volunteers showed up after midnight with headlamps, trudging through sucking mud among cattails humming with insects. I joined the line, calling her name until my throat pulsed raw. Flashlights flickered over water black as crude oil. My brain played horror loops. Beth tripping, Beth unconscious, Beth face down in muck, while the phone in her pocket kept silent. Monday morning, another jolt. They yanked a canvas suitcase from the reeds. Beth's navy spinner. She used it on weekend trips. Zipper closed. Inside were 2 sweaters, a toothbrush, her passport. No wallet, no phone. No signs of a struggle, the detective said. No blood. But it was placed, not dropped. The working theory pivoted from accident to voluntary disappearance. Fear mutated into confusion. Why would she stage a suitcase in a swamp? Why bring her passport? Why break her own window? I stared at traffic on the highway, thinking maybe she had been kidnapped by someone she trusted. Then the detective called about the Arizona number. Jared Collins, 30, Beth's college boyfriend, recently unemployed graphic designer whose cell now pinged from small towns eastbound through New York. The deputy said Jared's phone, and Beth's had used the same tower near Coldwater Marsh minutes apart on Friday night. My storm of dread turned to thunderous anger. Jared. I remembered him only from one photo Beth kept buried in a dresser drawer. Floppy brown hair, guitar across his lap, festival wristbands climbing his arm. She had mentioned him exactly twice in 4 years. Once to say they dated sophomore year, once to say they lost touch, but apparently not lost enough. Tuesday morning, state police released gas station CCTV images. Beth filling the Corolla, Jared leaning on the roof drinking bottled iced tea. 7:43 p.m., 3 hours before her boss called. They drove west, away from our apartment. She did not look abducted. She looked thrilled. I smashed a coffee mug in the sink, ceramic slicing my palm. The cut bled, but felt dull compared to the wound in my chest. For 72 hours, I had assumed she was dead, drowned, trapped. Entire search teams had slogged through fetid marsh, Families had prayed. Strangers had passed out missing person flyers. Meanwhile, she was road tripping with her ex-boyfriend, letting us sweat and tear ourselves apart. I pictured Beth giggling in some roadside motel, checking social media blackout, while I begged God to keep her alive. Wednesday, a final gut punch. Beth emailed me from an address I'd never seen. It was a long, measured apology. She admitted she bought a one-way ticket to Phoenix under her maiden name, leaving her phone behind so the trail would stop at Coldwater Marsh. Jared picked her up and they drove west together. She claimed she felt stifled by routine and needed a radical reset before turning 30. She wrote that disappearing entirely was less cruel than a messy breakup face to face. She thanked me for loving her well. She ended with a favor. Could I FedEx the vintage camera she forgot because she wanted to document her new start? I stared at the glow of the screen, knuckles white on the mouse. My reply was a single line. Camera is in the swamp where you left it. Then I blocked her. Grief and fury mingled like gasoline on water. I spent nights replaying the relationship, hunting for red flags I'd glazed over. The random wellness weekend she took alone last March. The private browsing tabs. The sudden interest in desert photography. Betrayal rewrote every memory, but rage is corrosive. After a week, the burn dulled into determination. I boxed her clothes, her ceramics, the forgotten guitar she never learned to play. I hauled the boxes to the Salvation Army and kept the receipt for tax season. On the walk back, sunlight felt sharper. I adopted a second cat, Maple, because Pickle kept crying at the bedroom door. Their first meeting was chaotic. Pickle hissed. Maple squeaked and darted under the sofa, but the apartment felt inhabited again. Beth mailed one last parcel in late August, a check for $450, half the non-refundable cabin deposit, with a note scribbled on torn journal paper. You deserve better apologies than this. I pinned the check on the fridge as proof I could not be bought. I donated the amount to the Search and Rescue Canine Foundation instead. Last weekend, I drove back to Coldwater Marsh alone. The cedar that smashed her window had been cleared. New saplings rose in its place. I hiked the boardwalk deep into cattail country. The water still looked black, but the air carried a sweet rot common to late summer, life reforming itself out of decay. I sat on the viewing deck, let mosquitoes whine at my ears, and felt neither fear nor anger, only a bright seam of relief that her disappearance was not my tragedy to carry anymore. The future felt wide as open road. The passenger seat of my car was empty, and for the first time since Friday night, that space felt like room, not loss. Driving home, I passed the exit where her car had been found. I did not slow down. I rolled down the window, breathed the dusk air, and let the wind yank the final remnants of dread from my lungs. Beth was gone by choice, and I was alive by choice. That felt like victory enough.